Yes, hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Disaster Readiness and Risk Reduction. This is week 4. Okay, so earthquake hazards, maps, and precautionary. These are topics. And safety measurement for earthquakes. Concepts of magnitude and intensity. Okay, so a magnitude of an earthquake refers to the amount of energy released, measured by the amount of ground displacement or shaking. It is calculated based on a record of the earthquake, seismograph. It is represented by Arabic numbers, like, for example, 4.8 or 9.0. We have the intensity. Intensity is the strength of an earthquake as perceived and felt by people in a certain locality. It is a numerical rating based on relative effect to the people, objects, environment, and structures in the surroundings. The intensity is generally higher near the epicenter. It is represented by Roman numerals, example 2, 4, or 9. Okay, so here we have an example video further of explanation of the difference between an intensity and a magnitude. Okay, so let's watch this.
Magnitude and intensity are both related to the size of an earthquake, but they each measure different aspects. Magnitude, which measures the energy released at the source of the earthquake rupture and is calculated using measurements from seismic instruments, is one single value. Seismic intensity, which is the measurement of the strength of shaking at a specific location, determined from effects on people, human structures, and the natural environment, produces a range of shaking intensities in different locations. Thus, unlike earthquake magnitude, which is the same for all locations, the seismic intensity you feel depends on where you are. Intensity is mostly controlled by three factors: magnitude, how big the earthquake was; distance from the hypocenter, intensity varies from place to place; and the local rock and soil conditions. Let's compare magnitude and intensity by using a light bulb as an analogy. The light bulb represents the location within the Earth called the hypocenter, where the earthquake begins. The magnitude or size of an earthquake is like the wattage of a light bulb. Just as the wattage represents the amount of power of the light bulb, the magnitude is related to the total amount of energy released by the earthquake's source. The intensity, or shaking level, is like the amount of light from a light bulb at any spot in a room. A small light bulb in one area of a room will make that area bright with high-intensity light, but it will leave the distant areas of the room dim with low-intensity light. So, a given earthquake has only one magnitude, but will produce different intensities of ground shaking, as shown on the USGS Did You Feel It intensity maps.
Okay, so that's the elaborate explanation of the difference of magnitude and intensity. Okay? Minsan sasabihin nila, nagka-earthquake. Intensity 6, magnitude 6.5, mga ganon. So, depende. Kaya huwag kayo malilito, no? Kung ano sasabihin sa inyo. Okay? Next is we have hazard maps. A hazard map is a map that highlights areas that are affected by or are vulnerable to a particular hazard. They are typically created for natural hazards such as earthquakes, volcanoes, landslides, flooding, and tsunamis. Hazard map helps prevent serious damage and deaths. People and properties are affected by earthquake due to any or a combination of the following: unsafe location, poor construction, people don't believe or know that they be affected. People don't know how they can be affected. People don't know what to do, and there is lack of timely and proper response. Scientists have for so long studied earthquake occurrence and hazards associated with them. By looking at impacts from major earthquakes based on studies, given a specific earthquake scenario of magnitude, maps showing areas like to be affected by a certain specific hazard and the degree of expected impact and generated. The purpose is to able to use these maps. Parang ganyan. So makikita nyo, di ba? Actually, hindi siya makita kung ano yung mga bicolor code later on. Sa atin sa Pilipinas, may ginawa sila from the University of the Philippines. Yung tinatawag nating NOAA. NOAA. So doon, you can access them para makita nyo yung hazard mapping sa Pilipinas, no? So later on, i-discuss dyan. May video tayo. So pag pinindot nyo, may pipindutin kayo for earthquakes. Ano ba yung hazard map sa Pilipinas na prone to earthquakes? Ano ba yung prone sa tsunami, sa flood? So makikita mo, no? Pwede nilang may identify isa-isa. As we learned in earlier modules, for earthquakes, there are at least 5 earthquakes-related hazards that one needs to consider. Ground rupture, ground shaking, liquefaction, earthquake, include landslide and tsunamis. Okay, so hazard maps are maps that show different hazards that may affect a certain area. For earthquakes, a ground shaking hazard map shows the distribution of earthquake shaking level that have a certain probability of occurring. A ground rupture hazard map shows area wherein faults cut across. There are hazard maps for liquefaction, earthquake, includes landslides and tsunami. Okay, for example, ang purpose nito, no? Para at least aware kayo at alam nyo. Kayo ba naman, kahit may property kayo along the mountain at yung property niyo na yun, prone siya sa landslide. Kayo ba, gusto nyo bang magtayo ng bahay doon? Siyempre hindi. So, ang advice ko sa inyo, no, pag okay na kayo, nagkaroon ng pera at plano nyo magtayo ng bahay, i-check nyo muna yung property na plano nyo pagtayuan. Kung safe ba siya regarding sa hazard map? Ano ba yung pwede nyong pagdaanan later on? Ano ba tong lugar na to? Pwede ba tong flood affected ba to? Landslide affected ba ito? So yun yung mga factors na kailangan mo i-consider bago ka magpatayo ng establishment or house na pinaplano mo. These maps were generated to provide the most accurate and detailed information possible to assist engineers in designing buildings, bridges, highways, and utilities that will withstand shaking from earthquakes in an area. These maps are used by local governments to help establish zoning construction requirements necessary to preserve public safety and for purposes of general planning for disaster risk reduction and mitigation. Before using the map, be sure that you understand the basic. Okay? Map title tells you what the map is all about. Legend, details of what each symbol means. Scale refers to the bar scale as this helps determine the distances. Okay? So ito na yung sinasabi kong NOAA. So let's watch this. Ito yung video on how to use the project NOAA, okay, during calamities. So let's watch this. Ang advice ko sa inyo, no, after watching my discussion, try nyong i-open kasi ituturo naman no, kung paano i-open para makita nyo mismo yung bahay na kinatatayuan nyo, is it safe? O kung ano ba yung mga pwedeng calamities na pwede nyong ma-encounter. Okay? So let's watch this.
Geological Sciences. Tara, samahan niyo kung alam ito. Hi po, Ate Jo.
Hello din.
Ano po ba yung Project NOAA?
Ang Project NOAA ay ang Nationwide Operational Assessment of Hazards. So ito po ay isang proyekto ng gobyerno na itinatag noong 2012. Ginawa po ito ng government dahil sa sunod-sunod na mga trahedya dulot ng mga bagyo at saka malalakas na ulan. Isa sa malaking outputs ng Project NOAA ay ang Project NOAA website. Ito po ay nasa noaa.dost.gov.ph. So nandito sa NOAA website yung mga iba't ibang klase ng impormasyon.
Bakit po ba Project NOAA?
Tinawag siyang Project Noah dahil, una sa lahat, yung pangalan niya galing sa Bible actually. Siya yung gumawa ng arko, siya yung gumawa ng isang malaking barko dahil sinabihan siya na magkakaroon ng isang malaking baha. So yung Noah, isa siyang platform or isa siyang bagay na makakatulong sa mga tao para ma-warn sila at makapag-prepare sila bago pa dumating yung mga baha or yung mga iba pang mga hazards na dala ng bagyo tsaka malalakas na ulan.
Para saan po ba ito at paano po ito makakatulong sa lahat, lalo na po sa aming mga bata?
Well, ang Project Noah website, yung nandito sa screen natin na to, may mga dalawang klase ng impormasyon ang meron siya. Una, near real-time weather information. Tsaka pangalawa, hazard information. So para sa mga bata, lalo na ngayon na lagi may access na kayo sa mga computers tsaka sa mga tablets, pwede niyong i-check dito kung ligtas ba ang lugar niyo sa sakuna. So, for example, pwede mong tignan kung ang bahay mo mismo ay prone to floods, landslides, at storm surges. Yan yung tatlong klase ng hazards na pinagtutuunan namin ng pansin. Ang tawag sa mga hazards na yon ay hydrometeorological hazards. Ang hydrometeorological hazards, galing siya sa salitang hydro, ibig sabihin ay tubig, at meteorological, ibig sabihin ay panahon.
Maraming salamat po, Ate Jo.
Maraming salamat din sa pagpunta.
Yung pala ang ibig sabihin ng Project Noah. Ito pala ay isang mapa na makapagbibigay babala sa atin sa mga malalakas na pag-ulan o bagyo para makaiwas sa mga tidal waves, landslide at pagbaha. Ang galing, di ba? Yan ang nagagawa sa pag-unlad ng science and technology. Kaya wag natin ipagwalang bahala ito. Hanggang sa muli, dito lang sa Ben C. Bibo!
Okay? So, yan. Suggest ko, after, i-access nyo yung site, no? So, you can check your place kung ano yung possible calamity that may affect it. Okay? Next is, we have your precautionary and safety measures before and during and after an earthquake. Ito yung isa sa mga kailangan yung malaman at maintindihan. Okay? So kahit saan kayo magpunta, sana bit-bitin nyo itong knowledge na to. Kasi ito ay makakatulong sa inyo. Hindi lang dito sa Pilipinas, no? Kahit nasa ibang bansa kayo. Okay? What to do before an earthquake? The key is to effective disaster prevention is planning. Know the earthquakes hazard in your area. Hindi lang sa Pilipinas, no? No, pag kayo nakagraduate, nagtrabaho kayo ibang bansa, kailangan alam nyo din to. Hindi lang na, nakapunta ko ng US. Nakalimutan ko na. Para at least alam mo kung ano yung pwede mong gawin. Follow structural design and engineering practices when constructing a house or a building. Ayan, pag nagpatayo ka ng bahay, hindi pwedeng substandard. Hindi na pwedeng magtayo ng poste. Poste mo, imbis na 4, ginawa mong 3. Mga ganong factors. Evaluate structural soundness of building and houses. Strength of retrofit if necessary. Okay? Kaya kung mapapansin nyo sa ibang bansa, ang mga bahay nila gawa sa kahoy. Sa atin dito is semento. Hollow block cement, so mas matibay. Prepare your homes, workplace, or school. Strap a bolt, heavy furniture, cabinets to walls. Yan. To avoid falling debris. Yung mga wall frame no, sa school, sa bahay, kailangan. Hindi nakapako lang yan. No? Talagang nakafix yan. Check the stability of hanging objects like ceiling fans and chandeliers. Kailangan, pag nag-i-install kayo, dun sa matibay na part, hindi dun sa alam nyong possible na mahulog. Siyempre, sino bang mahulog? It's either ikaw o yung mga kasama mo sa bahay. Breakable items, harmful chemicals, and flammable materials should be stored properly in the lower most secure shelves. So imaginein mo, kunwari may shelves kayo, tapos yung mga muriatic acid, yung mga panlinis mo nasa taas ng shelf. Kasi ina-avoid mo na ma-reach sa mga bata. Pero during earthquakes, anong disadvantage nun? Pwedeng malaglag sa inyo, mas magkaroon pa ng cost. Mas malaking bigger damage pa sa inyo. So pwede nyo siyang store sa baba, sa lower shelf, then i-secure nyo yung area para hindi ma-access ng mga bata. Familiarize yourself with the exit routes. Yan, especially pag nasa workplace kayo, nasa school kayo, yan yung mga advice na kailangan nyong malaman. Para for example, nagkaroon ng earthquake, alam nyo kung saan kayo lalabas, kung gaano kalayo yung kailangan nyo lakarin, saan yung mga pwede nyo daanan, yan. No? Kunwari, na-block yung isang way, ano pa ba yung isang another way, no? Pag wala ka na madaanan, then you need to find a secure place na kung saan safe kayo at doon kayo mare-rescue ng mga tao. Know where fire extinguishers, first aid kits, alarms, and communication facilities are located. Learn how to use them beforehand. Okay? So sa earthquake, may possible magkaroon ng fire. So dapat marunong kang mag-operate. No? Siyempre, di natin maiwasan magkakaroon ng mga injuries. No? Kaya kailangan marunong kang mag-first aid. Alarms and communication. Ang maganda kasi dyan, no? Kung doon sa location mo, na saraduhan kayo, no? At gumagana yung telephone lines o any communication na item, no? Pwede nyo silang gamitin. Kunwari cellphone, may signal pa kayo, pwede kayong tumawag, no? Tumawag to ask for help. Okay, prepare a handy emergency supply kit with first aid kit, canned food, and can opener, water, clothing, blanket, battery, operated radio, flashlight, and extra batteries. Okay? Ito ang magandang gawin. Okay? Hindi ko naman sinabing maglalayas kayo, pero ang gawin nyo, ito minsan ginagawa ko to eh. Prepare kayo ng small bag. No? Lagay ka lang doon ng first aid, ano pa kailangan, bandages, gauze, yung pangpilay, yung parang rubber gauze, panglinis ng sugat, and scissors. Okay? Yun yung mga basic. Okay? Next is, syempre, kailangan may flashlight kayo and extra batteries. No, sa canned food, huwag na kayo magdala ng can opener. Ang suggest ko is bumili kayo ng at least 3 to 5 pieces na canned food na yung easy to open, no? Hindi mo na kailangan ng can opener, easy to open na siya. No? So, ang gagawin nyo, bumili kayo, then every month, gamitin nyo, palitan mo ulit yun. So at least prepare kayo kung magkaroon ng bagyo, no? Magkaroon ng baha, earthquake, bibit-bitin nyo na lang siya, hindi na yung, ano pa yung gagawin ko. Okay? Ang purpose ng radio, battery-operated radio, is for you to know the updates. Ano ba to? Meron bang darating na hindi ayuda? May darating ba na rescue? May darating ba na relief goods sa area namin? Mga ganon. Okay? Next is what to do during an earthquake. Okay? Ito yung magandang focus natin. When you're inside a structurally sound building or home, stay there. Do the duck cover and hold. Okay? Pero pag nag-duck cover and hold kayo, huwag na sa open space. No? Sa ilalim kayo ng chair. Kung kakasya kayo sa chair. Lalo naman table. Yan. If possible, quickly open the door for exit. Duck under a sturdy desk or table and hold onto it to protect your head with your arms. Stay away from glass windows, shelves, and other heavy objects. Be aware of falling objects. Be alert and keeping your eyes open. If you're outside, move to an open area. Okay? Kung nasa school kayo, nasa baba lang kayo, pumunta kayo doon sa open area, sa field, kung saan kayo nag-PPE, mga ganun, na walang mga debris na pwedeng mahulog sa inyo. Stay away from trees, power lines, posts, and concrete structures. Kasi may possibility na bumagsak sila sa inyo. Mas nakakatakot power lines. Okay? Hindi lang yung poste babagsak sa'yo. Paano kung may maputol na kable ng kuryente at pumunta sa'yo, nakuryente ka pa. Hindi ka nga namatay doon sa nalaglagan ng poste o ng debris, namatay ka naman sa electric shock. Move away from steep slopes which may be affected by landslide. Yan. Okay? So, kung nakasasakyan kayo, no, nasa ano kayo, nasa Buklaw o Cannon Road kayo, huwag kayo dun sa mga, kung mapapansin nyo, sa may ano, sa may Marcos Highway, hindi ko alam kung nakadaan na kayo, no? Siguro yung iba sa inyo nakadaan na Marcos Highway. Meron doon yung parang shelter na rock slide, rock slide, parang fence nila. Makikita mo yun, parang tunnel siya. Siguro mga 200 meters siguro yung haba niya. So, kung matsempohan, nandun ka during an earthquake, no? O landslide, may nakita kang landslide. Sa area na yun, doon yung pinaka-safest para sa'yo. If you're near the shore and feel an earthquake, especially if still strong, move quickly to higher grounds. Tsunamis might follow. Okay? Tandaan nyo, ano bang cause ng tsunami? Diba? Doon sa explanation natin, tsunami is caused by earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. Yan. If you're in a moving vehicle, stop and get out. Do not attempt to cross bridges, overpass, or flyovers which may be been damaged. Nakakatakot. Paano kung nag-overpass ka? During earthquake, bumagsak, mag-collapse. Sa bridge, mag-collapse. Dumaan ka. No, mas mahirap yun kasi nasa loob ka ng sakyan, nalaglag kayo sa tubig. Hindi ka na nakalabas. Yan ang mga pwede mangyari sa'yo. What to do after an earthquake? Be prepared for aftershock. Once the shaking stops, take the fastest and safest way out of the building. Okay? Huwag kayong lalabas during the earthquake, no? Kung lumilin to, lalabas kayo. Hindi. After na kayo lalabas. Okay? Don't use an elevator. Don't enter damaged building. Don't use telephone unless necessary. Don't panic. Okay? Check yourself and others for injuries. Check water and electrical lines for damages. Kasi nakakatakot, baka mamaya, kita mo, baha, safe. Sabi mo, baha, safe, may tubig. Sige, lakad. Pero hindi mo alam, may kable pala ng kuryente, nakadip doon, di na kuryente. May mga ganyang cost dito sa search nyo sa YouTube. May mga ganyang news na nangyari sa Manila na na-electrocute sila. No? Baha. Sumulong sila. Ano nangyari? Na kuryente. Namatay. Namatay sila. Okay? For spills of chemical, toxic, and flammable materials, yan yung iwasan natin. Tandaan nyo, after earthquakes, hindi lang naman tsunamis ang pinuputos niyan, pati fire. No? Pag may nalaglag ng chemicals, no, na-cause ng fire, kaya nga sabi kanina, you should know how to operate a fire extinguisher. Para ma-avoid natin yung fire. If you need to evacuate your residence, leave a message stating where you are going and bring your emergency supply kit. Keep update on disaster prevention instruction from battery-operated radios. Yun yung purpose ng battery radios. So bago tayo mag-proceed sa inyong activity, let's watch this video on what to do before, during, and after an earthquake. So let's watch this. So that's it. So for activity, search the internet, go to the people site, refer to the hazard maps to identify the different hazards like the affect in Kalinga province. It's either you can check the fee box, pwede din yung NOAA kung pasok tayo sa NOAA. Okay? Write a report based on information you obtain. For activity 2, visit your barangay hall. Ask for a copy of active fault maps here in Kalinga. Study the map mark and identify the following: barangay hall, village clubhouse, school daycare center, hospital clinics, grocery markets, important infrastructures, bridges, gymnasium, open or covered courts, water tanks, deep wells, yan yung mga kailangan. Okay, for activity 3, draw a poster in a 1/4 size illustration board with the following theme. Paano mo matutulungan ng inyong pamilya na maghanda bago, habang at pagkatapos ng lindol? Or English, how can you help your family to prepare before, during, and after an earthquake? Okay? So, thank you for watching and God bless.